One out of 5 short-term visitors from China tested positive for COVID-19 upon arrival to South Korea on the first day of tighter border measures. China, where new virus variants have been detected, says it will take countermeasures against the countries involved in imposing restrictions on travelers. More tax breaks for firms investing in strategic industries like chips to a maximum of 25%. South Korea hopes to beef up growth engines with the latest measures. Wall Street starts the year with a huge dip. Apple's value dropped below $2 trillion, with Tesla shedding over 12% on the opening day of 2023. Good morning and welcome to a new day at Arirang. A concerning number of people coming in from China have tested positive with COVID-19. All arrivals from China need to take mandatory PCR tests, but soon, arrivals from Hong Kong and Macau will also need a negative test result from before entry. Our Kim Hyun-sung reports.
Almost 1/5 of short-term visitors from China have tested positive for COVID-19. Starting from Monday, everyone coming in from China has had to get a PCR test on arrival. So Tuesday was the first day that the test results have come out, and 61 people out of 309 visitors have tested positive at Incheon Airport. So when new arrivals come here, authorities who are standing by the gates help guide incoming travelers from China to the PCR testing centers that are ready here at Incheon International Airport. And when these travelers do test positive, they'll have to quarantine at a temporary shelter near the airport so that their infections don't spread to local populations. Those who did test positive have to be quarantined for a week at a temporary shelter near the airport. The shelters can now hold up to 100 people, but airport authorities are scrambling to quickly expand the capacity. Health authorities are also expanding health vetting measures. From Thursday, visitors from China are going to have to take an extra PCR test before they enter Korea. And then from this Saturday, these health vetting measures will be expanded to visitors from Hong Kong and Macau. They will also have to get a PCR test to enter the country, but they won't need another PCR test upon arrival. Health authorities said they made this decision because they're concerned with the increase in cases and COVID-19 related deaths in Hong Kong and in other nearby countries. They also said that they have taken into account the decisions of other countries like the US and Canada, who have also tightened border controls for incoming travelers from China, Hong Kong, and Macau. Kim Hyun-sung, Arirang News.
Now, the Chinese government says COVID-19 testing requirements imposed on passengers from China are unacceptable and threatened countermeasures against countries involved. Our Lee Seung-jae has more.
The Chinese government has slammed COVID-19 testing requirements imposed on passengers traveling from China and threatened countermeasures against countries involved.
We are firmly opposed to attempts to manipulate the epidemic prevention and control measures for political purposes, and will take corresponding measures in different situations according to the principle of reciprocity.
The Foreign Ministry spokesperson added that the entry restrictions that some countries imposed on China only lack scientific basis, calling them unacceptable. The comments come as a growing number of countries followed suit in imposing stricter measures against travelers from China, including Australia and Canada. Other countries like South Korea, the US, UK, India, Japan, and several European nations had already announced tougher COVID-19 measures amid concerns over a lack of data on infections in China and fears of the possibility that new variants may emerge. Meanwhile, the EU is also set to impose stricter measures following a meeting with the EU Health and Safety Commission, posting on Twitter that EU member states have agreed on a coordinated approach to the evolving COVID-19 situation, including the impact of increased travel from China. One official taking part in the meeting noted that an overwhelming number of member states were in favor of pre-departure testing for all travelers from China. More countries might follow suit, as China has been reporting a flare-up of new variants in different parts of the country, including the XBB and BQ1 variants. Experts say the XBB variant is hard to treat and could even be resistant to the available vaccines. With the variants being reported more and more throughout the country, China could potentially see even more explosive COVID-19 cases moving forward. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Amid a fierce global race in the chip industry, South Korea is allowing more tax incentives for chips and other strategic industries. For more on these and new measures, here's our Ji-young.
South Korea plans to expand tax credits for firms investing in strategic industries like chips to a maximum of 25%. Finance Minister Chu Kyung-ho announced a tax code revision on Tuesday, saying there will be a higher tax credit rate for conglomerates investing in the chips industry.
The tax credit rate for conglomerates investing in chip facilities will be almost doubled from the current 8% to 15%.
For example, if Samsung Electronics invests $100 million in the semiconductor production facility this year, it'll get a tax cut of $15 million. Also, for small and medium-sized companies, the credit will be raised sharply from the current 16% to 25%. Including the additional 10% tax credit to be applied for investment in strategic technology, conglomerates will be getting a tax cut of up to 25%, and small and medium companies will be getting up to 35%.
Including the current tax credit rates of 30 to 50% on R&D, South Korea is one of the world's top tax incentive providers.
Under the measures, companies in strategic industries, including those in the chip sector, are expected to enjoy tax cuts worth nearly $3 billion. Not only semiconductors, the government plans to reintroduce temporary tax credits for investment in all industries that have been temporarily suspended since 2011 to promote the economy. This year, a 3% tax cut will be provided for conglomerates investing in facilities, and it'll be 12% for small and medium firms. The government is to set up a detailed revision within this month and send it to the National Assembly for approval in February, the latest. Ji-young, Arirang News.
South Korea has scrapped housing regulations for a number of locations that were considered to be closely watched speculative districts. As part of efforts to stabilizing the housing market, the Land Ministry will lift the pre-sale price cap system across Seoul and metropolitan areas, except for 3 districts in the Gangnam area as well as Yongsan-gu district. Also, a regulation that imposed penalties on those reselling real estate within a certain period will be eased. And the ministry shortened the time homeowners can sell their properties from the current limit of between 4 and 10 years to 1 to 3 years, depending on the location. Plus, regulations on loans for partial deposits will be eased. This includes abolishing loan limits, which have been set at 500 million Korean won, or roughly $400,000 per person. On the first day of the trading in the U.S. in 2023, tech stocks tumbled as Tesla shed over 12%, while Apple's value dipped below $2 trillion. The EV maker was slowing down more than $15 per share, where after the company's fourth quarter vehicle production and delivery numbers for 2022 fell short of analysis expectations, as well as the company's stated goals. Meanwhile, Apple's market value showed a stark difference to the start of 2022, when it became the only company to reach a $3 trillion valuation. The tech giant saw its value slump by $1 trillion in the past 12 months. A new and divided Congress convened in the U.S. on Tuesday, with the session ending without a speaker named. The 118th Congress kicked off with Republicans in control of the House after the midterm elections, where the Democrats barely kept hold of the Senate. And the opening session marks the choosing of a new House Speaker, with the post usually going to the leader of the majority party. But Republican leader Kevin McCarthy failed to gain majority support from his own party on the first vote, something unprecedented in 100 years. And despite going to a third vote, there's still no winner, with lawmakers set to reconvene at midday on Wednesday local time. Now, once a speaker is chosen, House members can be sworn in and get to work. The United States denounced North Korea's continuous provocations, which includes the North's development of weapons capable of sending nuclear warheads. State Department spokesperson Ned Price on Tuesday said in a briefing that it's unfortunate that North Korea appears to have embraced provocation over dialogue. He added that the U.S. has been seeking discussions with the purpose of a complete denuclearization on the Korean peninsula, but the regime has been refusing the talks. He vowed to respond firmly against North Korea's provocations if necessary. Now, relations with the regime are not off to a peaceful start in 2023. Following an unprecedented number of missile tests last year, North Korea launched another ballistic missile on New Year's Day. Our Peunji has more on the outlook for the inter-Korean relations.
Many experts on North Korea say that heightened tensions on the Korean peninsula will remain throughout this year, as the regime will not be changing its hardline policy against South Korea and the U.S. The North first set this policy in December 2019, few months after the Hanoi summit with the U.S. ended in failure.
There is no sign that North Korea has changed its policy direction. So I think this year, 2023, North Korea is continuing to conduct their nuclear and missile tests, including seventh nuclear test.
Speaking on New Year's Eve, North Korea's leader Kim Jong-un called for an exponential increase in his regime's nuclear weapons arsenal, calling South Korea an undoubted enemy. He also ordered the development of a new ICBM, which appears to show the regime's efforts to create one using solid fuel.
Unlike liquid fuel, solid fuel missiles do not require a complicated piping and pumping process to feed their engines, allowing them to be launched quickly. Also, because they don't need separate troops to pump fuel, they can enhance the operational effectiveness of the military.
As for the ICBMs they already have, Kim Jong-un's influential sister Kim Yo-jong even hinted at the possibility of test firing its ICBM at a normal launch angle instead of a steep one, which would allow the missile to fly at a normal trajectory. By April, the North plans to complete preparations for its first military reconnaissance satellite. Although it's up to the determination of the North Korean leadership, it's likely that the regime will speed up its weapons development this year instead of choosing to return to talks. Peunji, Arirang News.
We're just a day away from the start of the world's biggest tech show, CES 2023. Now, at this time of the year, we get a sneak peek at some of the sharpest innovations and most up-to-date technologies. So for more, we're connected with Lee Soo-young, Professor Emeritus of KST. Good morning, Professor.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to join.
Thanks for joining us this morning. Now, how different do you think this year's CES will be compared to other CES, including the pre-pandemic years?
In 2023, this year, the number of exhibiting companies at CES got increased by almost 50% from that of the last year that was held online-offline hybrid system. But still, it is less than 80% compared to the pre-pandemic era. More than 3,100 exhibitors will join CES this year from 174 countries. Actually, 323 of Fortune 500 companies will join, and the number of attendees is expected to become more than 100,000, of which 60% are senior level, such as president, owner, C-level, vice president, director, and manager, etc. CES always has emphasized innovation in future technology for the human quality of life. I still remember the old days when the main slogans of the CES was simply, what's next? For white consumer electronics dominated by TV, refrigerator, and air conditioner, and later smartphone, companies around the world had joined the CES and showed their new product and services with bigger, more pixels, brighter and flexible displays, as well as the smartphone function. Recently, in the emergence of AI, CES has extended its domain and also became the showcases of automobiles and robotics. Also, even before the pandemic, digital healthcare became an important part of CES, and this trend is keep on growing. Thank you.
Certainly, this year's CES will certainly be the biggest of all. Now, artificial intelligence is also an inevitable part of the biggest tech event in the world. Now, what kind of AI-related technology are you looking forward to the most?
AI is everywhere these days. Actually, more than a half of the CES Innovation Awardees are utilizing AI. Among them, the big portion belong to the category of digital health. It's consisting of monitoring, diagnosis, and treatment. The AI-based health monitoring system measures bio and behavior signals seamlessly 24 hours per day, 7 days per week. In addition to the contact sensors, non-contact remote sensors based on human-like audio-video signals, which are especially useful for monitoring chronic and brain disease, both at hospitals and at home. Another interesting category is education. Personalized AI tutors and metaverse are two important directions in education. By recognizing student mind and the personality and emotion stress, AI will be able to help each student come out with special, unique program. Actually, AI student will have its own personal digital human tutor. Other categories consist of home appliance, robotics, entertainment, content creation, document analysis, and even the pet care and beauty care and construction. Actually, anything related to the state-of-art technology coming to the AI. What I would like to see most in this digital human, which I may say who understand human personality and emotion and make personal conversation with audio video expression, just like your family, old friend, and companion.
Sure, AI tutoring is something that I wish I had when I was back in school. Now, before we let you go, one last question. Korean firms, Samsung Electronics, LG Electronics are also gearing up for the CES. Now, what's their focus this year?
Samsung Electronics and LG Electronics have been the undisputable world top-class contributor to CES. In 2023, Samsung and LG marked the record in the number of received innovation awards with 46 and 28 awards each. Although the white consumer products such as TV and smartphone still became the major exhibition item, innovations are made with flexible OLED displays, smarter and personalized functions. I personally like the slogan of LG Electronics. It says, "Life is good." Especially last year, LG had a theme of the better life you deserve. But this year, I hope it extends to the better life for everybody, not just for the rich and powerful, but literally every human without missing anyone. Thank you.
Sure, I'm not too tech savvy myself, but I always look forward to CES every year. All right, thank you for joining us this morning, Professor Yi. Have a great day.
Thank you, you too.
For a look at the news from around the world, we now turn to our Matthew Ashley standing by at the Arirang News Center. Good morning, Matthew.
Good morning.
All right, let's start in Israel, where a visit by the country's right-wing national security minister to hold a holy site in Jerusalem has sparked uproar.
Well, that is right. The Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir visited on Tuesday morning local time the site known to Muslims as the Al-Aqsa mosque compound and to Jews as the Temple Mount. Now, the compound is considered the third holiest site in Islam and is the most sacred place in Judaism. The 13-minute visit comes against the backdrop of a newly sworn-in nationalistic Israeli government under re-elected Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Currently, only Muslims are allowed to pray at the site, something the newly sworn-in minister wants to expand to include Jews. Palestinians have condemned the visit, and Ben-Gvir has been criticized by others for stoking tensions in the region. Now, a man accused of wounding 10 people in a shooting on a train in New York last year has pled guilty on federal terrorism charges. 62-year-old Frank James has pleaded guilty to all 11 indictments against him, including 10 counts of committing a terrorist attack, one for each of the gunshot victims. He also admitted to one count of discharging a firearm during a crime of violence. Prosecutors say that in April, James put on a gas mask and set off a smoke device on a crowded train before firing a handgun 33 times. James could face life behind bars, though prosecutors have indicated a willingness to reduce that to a sentence in the 30-year range, if he shows sufficient remorse. The sentencing will be made at a later date. Turning over to California now, where 4 people were saved in a dramatic rescue operation after their car crashed off a steep cliff near San Francisco. Now, the crash occurred Monday local time when a Tesla carrying 2 adults and 2 children veered off a highway and fell 76 meters onto a rocky beach. Firefighters had to rappel down the cliff to reach their crashed car before a helicopter airlifted the 4 people in the car to safety. According to officials, none suffered serious injuries, despite damage indicating that the car flipped several times during its fall. While the cause of the accident is still unknown, authorities believe none of the vehicle's self-driving features were active at the time. And in our final story, Cristiano Ronaldo has been officially unveiled as a new player for Saudi Arabian football club Al-Nassr. Ronaldo's official presentation took place among the cheers of thousands of fans and fireworks on Tuesday at Al-Nassr's Rasul Park Stadium in the Saudi Arabian capital of Riyadh. Now, this comes after the 37-year-old signed a 2.5-year contract to play in the Saudi Pro League in a deal worth more than $200 million per year. Speaking on his career, Ronaldo said that it's still not over and that his work in Europe was done.
Good morning. Many parts of the country are seeing higher morning temperatures, and Tuesday, morning lows in Seoul are about 4 degrees higher than the same time yesterday. Highs will also jump to above freezing this afternoon, but Cheollwon and Chuncheon are waking up to bone-chilling temperatures. A dry weather warning has been expanded to more regions, if you have noticed. While the West Coast is seeing some light snow flurries this morning, there's no precipitation in the forecast in the eastern parts of the country, so dry regions will get drier with stronger winds in the forecast today. Afternoon highs in Seoul will go up to 2 degrees Celsius, slightly below norms, while southern parts of the country will be seeing highs that are higher than average. Gyeongju, Gwangju topping out at 7 degrees under sunny skies nationwide with a good air quality. A mix of rain and snow is in the forecast for the end of the week, starting from late Friday afternoon into early Saturday. With that in mind, here's a look at the weather conditions around the globe.
That wraps up today's New Day at Arirang. We'll be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. Korea time. Thanks for watching.